Alright guys, time for a little fight talk. Big fights coming up. What's going on with Conor McGregor? What makes him so spectacular and so good? I think that's a question that's got everybody kind of perplexed, per se. And I'll tell you just really what my 2 cents is. That Conor McGregor really isn't he's not a spectacular athlete. He's not a spectacular fighter. What Conor McGregor mainly is an entertainer. He's entertaining. His fighting style is entertaining. His pre-fight antics are entertaining. And that's what I think Conor McGregor's biggest thing is that he's able to get inside people's heads before the fight. And then he's able to dictate where the fight goes. Because a lot of people fight him off raw emotion. They're just like heated, pissed off, want to kill him. And he lets them play right into it. And then basically come at him fast, he takes him out. Exactly what happened with Jose Aldo. He gets under everyone's skin. Especially in the press conference. He makes it really, really emotional. And they kind of just take their game plan, throw it out the window, and fight them really not on their terms. The other thing is, Conor McGregor cuts a crazy amount of weight. I think Conor McGregor probably walks around at maybe 175, 180, something ridiculous. He cuts all the way down, to 145. If you see him at weigh-ins, he's basically doesn't look like the same person. It's like literally half the person. And all of a sudden, come fight night, he puts on a lot of weight. But the biggest advantage is this. He's always usually fought guys that are shorter than him. So he's been able to get away with a lot of his boxing, a lot of his technique, everything else. And if you take a look at it, it's kind of like a little bull charging a big matador. Now, this Diaz fight is kind of interesting because I think Dos Anjos isn't that tall of a fighter. But Diaz is. And Diaz is the type of individual you ain't going to get into his head because that's how he always is. He's always pissed off. He's always angry. And you got to be used to doing that. And with Diaz, he's got nothing to lose, everything to gain. And Conor really doesn't have much to lose either because, he could, he can't lose the belt. And if for any reason Diaz, does beat him, then you can just say, hey, I took the fight at 170, kind of make a lot of excuses. Don't get me wrong, McGregor is good. I don't think he's spectacular. I think he's really got, I don't know what the deal is, man, but I think that guy found some lucky charms. Found a pot of gold, possibly in Ireland, and because that guy's luck has been something that I've never seen. It's crazy, just the way that things happen, and come into play. I think his hands are very good. I don't really know about his jiu-jitsu because it really hasn't been tested yet. But we definitely know that his striking's good. And the good thing about McGregor is he thinks outside the box. And he's smart because this whole movement thing that he's been doing, I really feel that's the future of fighting. Is that guys are really going to specialize in their movement, specialize on how they basically utilize their body. And once they understand exactly their movement and how to basically use their movement to get key power, then you're going to see fights escalated to a whole other level. McGregor is also, the thing is, the biggest thing with McGregor, like I said, he's just smart. What a lot of these fighters out there, they don't understand this. And this is it. First, you're an entertainer. Then you're a fighter. If you're not entertaining to watch fight, people aren't going to watch it. But the biggest thing is this. During interviews, if you have no personality and you're like talking to a wall, people are going to freaking just ignore you and everything else. McGregor has that it factor. That factor like Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, she's not champion anymore. It's Holly Holm. But how many interviews have you seen with Holly Holm? Not many. Because there's really not much personality and depth there when you really see it. With Ronda, there was. McGregor is the type of individual where he is doing amazing things right now. But I have a feeling with this Nate Diaz fight, it could be a little different. Because Diaz ain't going to be shorter than him. If you saw them square off during the actual press conference, Diaz is a lot taller. So, McGregor is going to have to utilize, a lot of his kicking, a lot of punching. Who knows, maybe he might try to take Diaz down. But if he takes Diaz down, his ground's going to be, on point and all, pretty damn good. Diaz has trouble dealing with kicks. So, McGregor's going to have to throw a lot of his unorthodox kicks. I think that might be his only chance. Diaz, he's going to play head games, trying to get in McGregor's head. McGregor's going to play head games, trying to get in Diaz's head. So I think the head game factor is going to be neutralized, per se. You're going to see a lot of emotions, especially at weigh-in, especially when they're caged, especially when they're about to tap gloves. And that's the difference. Because McGregor was the one that usually controlled that. But with Diaz really doesn't care. And that's what I think made McGregor so successful for so long. The guy really didn't care. When you take a look at it, what was his game plan? There was no game plan in any fight. The guy who went in their last fight against, I think, Jose Aldo, he goes in there, I think, throwing a spinning back kick. Or is it a fight before that? What kind of game plan would you think that you'd actually do that? But when you have that type of mentality and you got everything to gain, nothing to lose, then crazy stuff happens. McGregor honestly thinks with the mentality of nothing to lose, everything to gain. And imagine a life if you went through life and you could not fail at anything you do. And that's kind of what McGregor is doing right now. He's like, okay, anything I do, I'm succeeding. What am I going to go out there and ask for? And he's being reckless. He's not playing safe at all. And that's why this thing's awesome. Never before in the UFC have you ever seen a fighter with this type of talk, these type of antics, and these types of performances in the cage. He's literally calling his shots, much like Ali. And you saw Ali, what that did for the sport of boxing. McGregor's doing what Ali did for boxing at a smaller scale for the UFC. But it's all taken after professional wrestling. Not a lot of people know this, but Ali used to be a pretty quiet guy. And people that are close to him, I guess he is pretty quiet. Jokes around here and there. But it's not like anything that you see on stage, from what they say. But when Ali was up and coming as a boxer, he was on a radio show. And there was a guy that was a professional wrestler amping up a match. So Ali thought to himself, why don't I copy what this guy does? And I could use this professional wrestling promo antics in sport of boxing. Ali did just that. Ali was a great boxer. I don't know if I say he was the greatest or the best. What he did was pretty undeniable and pretty awesome. But more than anything, Ali was an entertainer. Ali was a personality. He had that it factor where you wanted to watch him do whatever he's going to do. McGregor's got the same way. And if you haven't noticed, the UFC and the WWE for a long time had very similar business models. The only thing that was different, that changed it, was this Reebok deal. Which I'm not even going to get started on that. But up until the Reebok deal, just like professional wrestling. Every single guy had his entrance song, stacked card. You had the people in the corner. And fighters all had the personalities. They cut the promos. They built it up. And the ones that got that, the ones that understood it, like Chael Sonnen, who in my opinion really cracked the code, you saw what that did for him. Chael basically talked his way into fights. He talked his way into championship fights. But Chael was a wrestler. And one thing that people love are knockouts. McGregor's a puncher. He's using the exact same model that Chael used, but he's ending fights with knockouts and everything else. I don't see this fight going good for McGregor. And I see this possibly being a collapse of the dynasty of McGregor. I see possibly Diaz beating McGregor, Aldo coming back, thrashing McGregor, getting the belt. But the one thing that you will not deny is this. Is Conor McGregor and what he's done for the UFC, what he's done for the sport, the climb that he made, and the odds that he defied. Now, who knows? McGregor's proved a lot of people wrong, time and time again. But I really feel that his formula for winning is basically his size advantage, the amount of weight that he's been able to cut, and the psychological warfare tactics that he's used to get under people's skin. Any way you look at it, it's going to be an awesome fight to watch. And the funny thing is, Dos Anjos fight falls through, Nate Diaz steps in, all of a sudden it became a better fight. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. It's time to fight, baby.